Welcome to the Explainer. You know those absolutely gigantic warehouses? Ever stop and think about how they keep track of literally millions of items without everything just turning into total chaos? Well, today we're diving into that high-stakes world of physical inventory to see how a powerful system like SAP EWM really masters the count. So here's our game plan. We'll start with why this whole counting thing is such a big billion-dollar deal. Then, we'll get into the modern playbook that systems like EWM use to get it right. We'll follow the process from a single document all the way to the final sign-off, see how new tech is just crushing the old-school methods, and finally, figure out what it means to actually be done. All right, first up, let's tackle the big question. Why on earth do companies pour so much time, money, and effort into what seems like a pretty simple job, just counting things? I mean, seriously, in this age of barcodes, scanners, and all this tech, you'd think it would all be automatic, right? But the truth is, a physical count is still absolutely essential for a company's financial health. And believe me, it's about way more than just knowing what's on the shelf. So here's the deal. A lot of this isn't even a choice. It's driven by strict financial and legal requirements. You know, accounting standards, tax laws, they demand it. But on top of that, it's just smart business. You need to know the actual value of what you own, you need to know what to reorder, and you've got to catch those little quantity errors before they snowball into massive problems. Okay, so we get the why. Now let's talk about the how. Forget about stacks of paper and clipboards. Modern warehouses run on incredibly powerful systems designed to handle all this complexity. And SAP's EWM is a fantastic example of how it's done. And this is so much more than just a fancy spreadsheet. Think of EWM as providing a complete step-by-step playbook. It guides the team through the whole process, from the initial prep work to the final update, making sure every single step is tracked. That way, the data is rock solid for the entire company, from the person on the warehouse floor all the way up to the CFO. Now, what's really clever here is that EWM gives you two distinct strategies. You can go storage bin specific, basically a deep audit of one single location, counting everything inside, or you can go product specific, where you're on a mission to find one particular product, no matter how many different bins it might be hiding in. It just depends on what you're trying to figure out. Let's keep moving and really see how this all comes together in a clear step-by-step journey for the warehouse team. This is where you can really see the logic of the system in action. So the whole thing really boils down to these 4 core stages. You create a plan, you do the physical count, you have this crucial recount step just in case, and then you post the results. It looks simple, but this tight structure is what keeps the whole operation on the rails and prevents costly mistakes. It all kicks off with something called a physical inventory document, or a PI document. This is basically the official starting gun. You can think of it like the mission brief for the counters. It tells them exactly what they need to count and where they need to go to find it. And here is a really smart feature designed to minimize disruptions. Teams can get all their PI documents ready to go in inactive mode. They can plan everything out way in advance without actually stopping warehouse operations. Then, when it's go time, they just flip a switch, make it active, and the count begins. Super flexible. But, you know, what happens if the numbers just look off? Well, the system has a built-in safety net. A manager can just trigger a recount. The system automatically creates a brand new PI document that's linked to the original one for that specific spot. It's a really seamless way to double-check and make sure you get it right. This right here, this is the moment of truth. Once all the counting and recounting is done and the numbers are approved, they get posted. And with a single click, the system updates the inventory records not just in the warehouse system, but also in the company's main planning software, the central ERP. Instantly, everybody in the entire company is working with the same correct information. So you've got your instructions from that PI document, but how do you actually go out on the floor and do the count? This is where we get to a major crossroads between the old way and the new way. And here it is, the classic showdown, the high-tech mobile RF scanner versus the old-school clipboard and pen. And let's be honest, the advantages of going mobile are just huge. You don't have to shut down parts of the warehouse, the chance of a data entry error plummets, and you can even do spot checks on the fly. It's faster, it's smarter, and it's way more accurate. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Technology's biggest win here is that it directly attacks the #1 risk in any inventory count: simple human error. The second you get rid of someone scribbling a number down and then hoping they type it into the computer correctly later, you've made the entire process so much more reliable. And check this out. Here's another huge time saver that tech enables. It's called collective counting. So instead of scanning every single box on a pallet that has like 100 identical items, you just scan one, enter the total quantity of 100, and boom, you're done. For warehouses with a lot of bulk goods, this is an absolute game changer. Okay, so after all the counting, recounting, and posting, what does it actually mean to be done? It's not as simple as just putting the scanner away. The system has a very clear, very specific definition of what complete actually looks like. You know that old question, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time, and that's exactly the logic here. To make this colossal job manageable, the system lets you break the warehouse down into what are called physical inventory areas. You can just think of them as zones. The goal is to tackle and complete each zone one by one. The logic is actually really simple, but it's powerful. It's just like finishing a big puzzle. The entire warehouse inventory is only considered complete when every single one of those smaller areas, every piece of the puzzle, has been counted and signed off on. And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. Finishing the count isn't just about checking a box. It sets a trusted, verified baseline of the company's assets that is valid for the entire fiscal year. It becomes the bedrock of confidence for every financial plan and operational decision they make from that point forward. Which, of course, leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. As we see more and more automation, shelves that can weigh themselves, drones that can scan entire aisles in minutes, is the era of the human-led physical count actually coming to an end? Or will there always be a need for that final human check? It's something the whole industry is watching very, very closely.
All right,